My name is Sonali, and I'm the founder and executive director of Youth Ambassadors of Service, a youth-led nonprofit teaching high schoolers how to get involved in the social impact sector long term. We have 3 programs: an introductory one teaching students the basics of the nonprofit sector and how to really engage and kind of find their niche. A second one, which was a curriculum, teaching students how to run an organization such as a 501c3, all while engaging a little bit more deeply with an internship with a host organization. And a third one, which is a fee-for-service program where we meet students where they're at in their community. That said, I think I have 3 big goals through this work, and that'll make me feel fulfilled by just making this organization scale and grow larger. And the 3 goals are to provide experiential learning opportunities that students don't have access to inherently, to combat the epidemic of loneliness that we've seen so prevalent in Gen Z and honestly at this point Gen Alpha, and also to make sure that we provide a pipeline to the do-good sector, as I like to call it, and make sure that there is things happening to grow the nonprofit space as a whole. Otherwise, in my other roles, of course, as a Point of Light brand ambassador, I am on 2 other boards of local organizations in North Carolina. I do some advocacy and public speaking with the UN and some other organizations that I've been really plugging in with as of recent. So my best first piece of advice when it comes to engaging and volunteering is start with experimenting. You want to be trying loads of different nonprofits because there are so many amazing causes out there, and it's just figuring out what is your niche and what really makes your heart excited to go volunteer. At least in our area, we have pay what you can cafes, food banks, clothing security nonprofits, mental health organizations, and like everything in between. And so, especially when I first started engaging in my community, it was very challenging to figure out what I wanted to start working with. But with time, I just tried things out and figured out what spoke to me. And the other piece of advice, just do it. I think there's so much holding you back and you're like, oh, like I'm not sure how it'll be to be in a new space, in a new environment. But it's just one of those things you gotta get over and you're gonna realize how much you love it. With starting a nonprofit as a whole, I have a little bit more advice on this because it is a little bit more work sometimes. And so my best piece of first advice is research what it entails to start an organization such as the 501c3, which is the nonprofit designation in the US. From there, maybe conduct a community and needs assessment, which is kind of looking at, okay, first of all, if you have a concept of what you want to solve, first, talking to the community you'd be serving, your target audience, and figuring out, is this a real need? And second, is there any other organization in your area already doing this good work? If so, maybe there's opportunities to find partnership with them. And then third, I'd really think about what logistics you need to be thinking about to actually bring this to life. Do you need a certain amount of money, a certain amount of status or relationships in your community? What does the operations look like? How are you going to bring this to life? What are the actual programs? How are you going to evaluate and make sure things are happening right? And what free resources can you find to learn all the skills you need to bring it all together? I truly believe that young people have the power to make a difference. They just need to know how and have the right resources. And so the whole concept of this is so exciting. If you want to start a nonprofit, I advise it. Just make sure you're taking the right steps to make it happen and bring it to life. You also have to make sure you're serious about the mission because you're probably going to be putting many years of your life into this. And so you really got to start making sure, is this the niche you want to hone in on and be known for as well in a sense? So if you are looking to become a mentor, I have 2 big pieces of advice. My first piece of advice is think about what value you can provide to others. And if you say, oh, I can't provide value, I am very inexperienced in a lot of things, blah, blah, blah. No, everyone has value they can provide, and you just need to find it. The best way I put it to make myself feel a little less imposter syndrome-y is to tell myself, hey, you learn best from someone 2 steps ahead of you than light years ahead of you. And that would be the same for anything and anyone. So as a mentor, just find someone who's a little less experienced than you in that thing and find out ways to support them. So imagine you play a sport. Well, I'll bet you are probably still a little ahead of the game of the person who just started right before yourself. And if you are that beginner, there's 100% other lanes, whether you play an instrument, whether you're part of a school play, that you can start engaging intentionally as a mentor instead. Otherwise, the big thing that comes to mind is find communities that inherently foster mentorship. So think about clubs, camps, school organizations. These are the types of places that you can find a mentor that can provide so much value, or you can mentor in that provides so much value to your life, or you could find that mentor as well. If you're looking for a mentor other than just joining these spaces, I have 2 big pieces of advice as well. First, don't be afraid to reach out to people that you admire. Of course, there's a chance they don't respond, but let's put it this way. The worst they say is no, but the return of them saying yes to building a deeper relationship is outstanding, because you're building a relationship with someone you admire. Start with building a relationship and naturally mentorship will come. The other thing is provide a volume of work. What I mean by this is people want to support a mini version of themselves, and that's usually the ambitious, excited, motivated version of them. And what this means is having some proof to showcase that you're really putting the work into the sector you're trying to get into. So for example, even looking at myself and my experiences, I had a lot of support when I was getting engaged in the nonprofit sector, especially in those early years. But to do that, I had to have something to show, which was I'd started an organization. I had some impacts already. And then people started wanting to give me resources and support me in other ways as well. So at its core, Youth Ambassadors of Service, YAS, is a mentoring-based organization. So yes, I've had many experiences with mentoring and they've been so rewarding, like all of them. I take the framework to heart. Be the person you needed most when you were young, like very literally, and I believe that to be true in any of the work we do. As a whole, like just being able to see people thrive in their zone of genius is probably my favorite part of this work, but also to help them find that place in the first place, helping them experiment, helping them find their purpose, find their why. It's just so exciting. But one of my favorite experiences, like to note a specific example, would be a student named Shaylin, who is the general manager of our organization, but he wasn't the general manager from the start. Yes, he's 16 now, but he tried to join our organization at age 13 as a rising ninth grader. And honestly, his application wasn't that great. It was a bunch of lowercase letters, 2-sentence responses, and there wasn't a lot of effort put into the application. That said, I think it's so rewarding to watch. He goes from an application where he kind of didn't put the full work in to now actually getting into the fellowship program, which is what he originally had applied for, which is an internship program through our organization, and not just sticking to that, but taking it above and beyond by taking our organization to the next level in leadership. So now he's a paid staff person at our organization, and at 16. Objectively, I love mentoring. I believe that as a young leader, being able to be put in places and spaces that I've been in, like it wouldn't be possible without mentors and supporters just in my circle. I also believe in the concept that nobody is self-made, and you can't do that without supporters and people in your life, like your mentors, who are there for you every step of the way. So I think about mentoring in 2 realms. I think about them as direct mentors and indirect mentors. And thinking about how it's shaped me as a change maker, well, first of all, like directly mentors who've been there in my life, whether it be other nonprofit leaders, public speakers, people in these spaces, I think about the opportunities, access to free resources, and just the willingness that they've had to put me in rooms that I didn't even think I deserved to be in. They help me build up my confidence and are just always there to give advice. And they don't have to know they're your mentors, but always good to let them know as well. In an indirect space, I think about the mental models and frameworks that people that don't know I exist have helped me create. For example, my favorite YouTuber, Ali Abdal, he always talks about how to create the best systems in your life and such, and I didn't think that would be possible without understanding those systems, at least for myself. On the other end, I also believe the concept that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but also you're the average of the 5 people you listen to the most, whether it be some productivity YouTuber, podcaster, that kind of thing. So they also shape your mental models, the frameworks, how you view the world, and it's for sure helped myself.